I'm the only white face in this area. You don't belong here. Stop, I'll shoot you in the back.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Mike from Copville here on episode 4 of Locked Up with Copville, and I have a great guest today, former Deputy Chief of the Palm Bay Police Department, Lance Fisher. Lance, thanks for coming.
Hey, Mike, I appreciate it. I've been trying to tell my story 3 minutes at a time, and this is the first chance I had an opportunity to sit down. So
and you said this is your first podcast
ever. So if you got to cancel it, I understand. I know you really,
this is only my fourth, so we're like neck and neck.
We'll see how this goes then.
So you have a very interesting story. I've read some of the articles, but I would rather have your perspective. Obviously, you talked about watching some of my stuff and my story, how I kind of got shuffled out, and I understand that you kind of dealt with the same problem there as the second in charge of the Palm Bay Police Department.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so hit us with it.
If you don't mind, I'll just tell a little background.
Absolutely.
Right? This is the first time I ever sat at the podium.
Talk to me.
So I grew up in small town Kansas, was a punk, had my hat on backwards, doing all the cool stuff. I joined the United States Marine Corps, did 6 years there, 0311 infantry. I think Brent said, I guess we're a necessary evil.
Yes, you are. But
so
I was in the Army, but we needed you for something.
So I did my 6 years, and then going to Camp Lejeune. And then when my 6 year ended, I was like, man, what am I going to do? Right. Had no skills other than rifles and pistols. And so I did a job fair, and I ended up I did Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I think they call it Murder Town now.
Rocky Mount.
Yep, right on 995, right there. It's a high minority, high crime, just a brutal area.
Great place to work, huh?
Absolutely. Because
I'm serious.
No, it is, because especially for a new guy coming up, because it taught you how to talk to people. You went to calls by yourself, and you got your ass kicked by yourself, or you talked your way out of it.
If you listen to anything I say, my biggest peeve with cops today is they do not know how to get out of their car and talk to people, because they've developed an entire career based on social media devices and learning from a computer, not getting out of the car and talking to people. They don't understand what that is anymore.
Nope, not at all. No, so, in learning that's how I learned how to be a cop, right? Mm-hmm. You went on calls, we would get a stack of warrants, of paper warrants. You'd literally start your day out in your little zone, and we'd take those warrants, and you'd be knocking on doors all by yourself, foot chases by yourself, but you learn how to talk to people and get out of your cars. So I stayed there about 4.5 years. I got my 4-year degree there, and moved my family to Florida. We had family here,
like everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And ended up in Palm Bay. So I've been here. I joined the police force in Palm Bay in 2004. I did 2.5 years there, and then I got with the chief, and I said, "Hey, you mind if I take a breather? I'd like to go do some private contracting over in Afghanistan." So I took a year off, went over there, and spent a year over there, and I came back. He said, "I'll hold your job for a year."
Good.
And I said, "Okay, perfect." So I come back. So in my career, so I got back in 2007. And first thing I did is while I was gone, they formed a crime suppression team. I said, that's me. I want to be that cop, the guy that's out there.
That's a good place to be.
Fighting the crime, right? Putting the bad guys, the worst of the people in jail, right? Your burglars, your murderers, and tracking your
and for those that don't know it, Palm Bay is just north of here. Palm Bay is a city you have that line that butts up against Melbourne. And I know that University Boulevard area is nasty. So for people that think Florida, small town, they may not have heard of Palm Bay. Palm Bay, Melbourne, downtown there where a university goes through is like a war zone.
Oh, yeah. 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 And so I talk about Rocky Mount. So that was small. That was, I think, 60,000 people, high crime.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned all that.
Yeah.
So when you come to Palm Bay, they all think high crime, and it's really not all that. But so I did crime suppression because I was a street cop. That was my gig. I could talk to people. I could get the guns. I could get the drugs. And I could do all that stuff, and so that's kind of where I grew up, was in crime suppression. I did that for 2 years, became a sergeant, got promoted, did 2 years back on the road, which that's probably one of the biggest things that we could do in injustice is we promote people and we stick them somewhere other than patrol.
That's the worst decision ever.
It's brutal.
Everybody should go to patrol.
100%.
Yep.
But what I found out over my career is that you get put where
needs of the agency,
right.
Needs of the agency,
or friends.
Yeah, friends.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So take care of your friends.
Yeah.
And so I did my 2 years on the road and went back to crime suppression as a sergeant. So I got to experience it both. Got promoted to lieutenant, went back to the road, did my 2 years as a lieutenant on the road, and then I went through training and special operations and some other stuff. So I'm now, right? So when I kind of air quote retired, okay, let's just say that. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Told you first one.
No, just make sure you pull it back up there.
They'll probably just follow me now.
Bend it. There you go. Good.
Yep, that's the new guy there.
No, you're good.
So I'm that guy who goes, hey, I'm admin, right? So I did all the
that admin, your resume right there annihilates most admin. There ain't many admin guys that can rattle. Most of the guys like you spend your career in the road, maybe make sergeant. Even to get to lieutenant is pretty tough to do when you take a Marine Corps background, combat infantry to suppression, to crime suppression, to what we would call a street goon here at Copville. You become an administrator with real street knowledge. You don't have that long email signature of bullshit school, this fancy, this, that, and the other. You have what I call a PhD in street crime.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I was kind of proud of is we had a sergeant retired, and before he retired, and I was a commander. Then he said, "One thing, man, you haven't changed since you know," and that was always my thing.
Big Sarge, then Big LT. Yep, good.
And just trying to be that guy and remembering where you came from.
Yep.
Because listening to where you have some admin guys that never were a cop, quite honestly. They just weren't cops, man. They can't talk to anybody. Nope. They have a 4-year degree. They get promoted. They're buddies with somebody. And then they don't even know where they came from. Nope. They truly don't. Nope. And they're all about policies and taking, and by the letter of the law and that kind of stuff. And you can't do that in law enforcement. You just can't. And so finally, I got promoted to deputy chief.
Huge, huh?
Never thought I'd be there.
That's awesome. That's
April
awesome.
Fool's Day. I mean,
that's right. You said it was April
3 years ago, April Fool's Day.
So it wasn't a fool.
It was a
maybe it turned out to be a fool, but at the time it wasn't.
So the chief and I both got promoted on April Fool's Day, and it was like a running joke. I didn't know it was going to be the end.
So you were lieutenant to the deputy chief?
No, commander.
Oh, so you were commander. Yep. There's a next step up.
Yeah, so I did commander for 2, 3, 4 years.
Okay.
But I was again over. I did over our patrol. I did over our community resources and stuff like that. So when our chief left, my new chief took over, and then he promoted me as well. And so I lived that life for 2 years in admin, right? And man, I was good friends with the chief. I mean, when I was in the hospital, he's the one that came and saw me. Mm-hmm. He's the one I asked for. When he had his personal issues, family tragedy, I was the first one he called. I mean, that's the relationship we had.
Were you guys tight throughout your entire career, or was it more towards the end when you got commander and then promoted? Or did you work together throughout your career and guys were?
Yeah, he was my sergeant in cross.
Okay, so you guys were right through.
Yeah, so I mean, and anytime you have
you kind of separate and find your way back.
Yeah, we butted heads a couple times along the way. When he was a lieutenant, I was a sergeant. But towards the end, when I was a commander, I supported him when he was a deputy chief. I supported him as a commander, and then when he was a chief, I absolutely supported him to the fullest I could as a deputy chief. And and then so, man, we were good. And then I started struggling. We had some officer involved shootings. We had 2 officers get shot, and I had a lot of baggage left from the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. And then in your law enforcement career, your mind just sometimes it doesn't. I try to explain law enforcement as a meat grinder. You go in a person and you come out shit.
Yeah,
you're never gonna. That's what they should tell people when they first sign up. You're never going to be the same. You're never going to be the same.
Something is going to change you, whether it's a call, the administration, something that happens in the building, out of the building. You're constantly battling sanity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way I can explain it. There's some days where you're like, I don't know how I'm doing this. I don't know how I'm surviving. Then there's some days where everything's great. Yeah. But it's a very unique career where, other than like a few here or there at like Walmart or Publix that get a little curveball, like somebody drops a jar of olives on the ground.
Right.
There's no real variant to their jobs. Our job could be a shooting today, and tomorrow you don't do a fucking thing. You just sit around all day, and then so you're right. It's a great analogy, a meat grinder. You just ground up
because you're never going to be the same.
Yep.
And and the things that we love that adrenaline. Yeah. But somewhere along our life, that adrenaline catches back up to you. It's either in your dreams, it's in your personal life, right? All the times you don't want it. And for me, it was when I sat behind a desk. I wasn't doing the adrenaline stuff anymore. And you start all of a sudden your mind starts playing games. Well, I found out, that I was angry. I was starting to get angry. Mm-hmm. I wasn't the leader I wanted to be. I was starting to cut people off. I was short. I still had people come to my office. I think somebody said I didn't have an open door. I had a no door policy. That's kind of what I had. And so, and I had great relationship with the officers. I loved I loved the agency. I still do. I still love the agency. I hate the administration, and we'll get into all that.
That's
right?
pretty common,
including
yeah.
myself, because you know what, I was part of that.
Yeah.
I was part of that, and I can't take myself like, I can't say that. Oh, well, it was
Accountability.
all them, right?
Accountability. And that,
100%.
for you to
I'm
say,
not proud of it.
well, but for you to say that is very important, because I have a lot of arguments and a lot of conflicts with other cops and people, and they try to throw my past in my face, and I have a very open no door policy to my past as well. If you can't hold yourself accountable and look at yourself, you're never going to be subjective to anybody else. You're never going to think, you're just fucked up. In my opinion, if you don't look at yourself in the mirror every day and go, I fucked that up, I fucked that up. And you can't say that and you hide from that, especially in law enforcement, because that's what happens. That we're so reward driven and good outcome driven that when something doesn't go our way, a lot of cops will fabricate, lie, hide, instead of just going, I fucked up. Like when you break the window and your kid, mom says, come fucking tell me you broke the window. Don't patch it back up and let somebody else find it. So the fact that you said you were part of the problem speaks volumes of your character, that you could see that. That's a really good thing.
Yeah, and that's what I say. I was part of the admin that nobody likes, right?
Yeah.
And so about October 2023, I noticed that I was struggling. I was struggling at home. I just wasn't happy, miserable. And so we had a peer support program. My chief, I'm the number 2 guy. I can talk to one person in the agency. I can talk to one guy.
Goes up. Yeah.
And he's a part of the peer support. So I start talking to him about my struggles and stuff like that. And we contracted with the local wellness organization, and we were sending officers there. And and he kept saying, hey, you need to go talk to somebody. You need to go talk to somebody. I was still thinking I'm that macho guy from crime suppression, right? That 28, 29, 30-year-old person.
Yep.
That I could handle it all. I could compartmentalize and do all that stuff, but I wasn't. And I could see it in my leadership. I saw my leadership change a little bit. I saw I was short, and I was sitting behind closed doors. I would actually have to close my doors sometimes just to kind of get
completely different from what the example
100%.
and the leader you set out to be. You were starting to
100%.
veer from it.
Yeah. And my leadership started in the Marine Corps. I was a punk from Kansas, joined the Marine Corps, and that's where my leadership. So I had all this, this leadership stuff, and I've done all kinds of leadership training, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit, but yeah, I've done all the FBI leader courses. I've done,
I made fucking those.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I did FBI National Academy, 3% of the, of the law enforcement community. Right. I did all the right things. I had good mentors and all this stuff for admin roles. So I did all those things. I was going to conferences all over the country. I'm talking to all kinds of people, listening, and everybody's calling me. I have these great networks. I mean, Greg Jabbar from Blue Bloods. I'd call and talk to him all the time because I ran into him at conferences. So I had a great network of people. And so then as I started struggling mentally a little bit, and I'm talking to my chief, Mario Jello. I'll say it because I can now.
I said that yesterday.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it. I was like, man, I can't wait. It's so great to talk about people, right? Yeah. Because I've been trying to do it at 3 minutes at a time, but I do it to his face. I do it to his face because I have nothing to hide. And I can prove everything I say. And I do it. I do it in a PowerPoint now at council, and he loves it because I get to see his face when I turn around.
That's a good idea. I didn't think about that. That's a good one for me.
Oh yeah, I do it right there at PowerPoints. I put it up there. When he talks about telling his deputy chief to grab a pellet gun and shoot children one by one, I put it up on the screen.
Now you do that. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but you go to the, what is it, like city council and stuff? He has to be there.
Oh yeah.
You get to talk.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Because I'll kind of, I guess I'll stick with my story, and then I'll tell you why. Yep. And so I started struggling. So I was talking to him. And so about, that was in October, we talked. I had some kidney stone issues, and I think it was February. I don't know. Have you ever had a kidney stone? Those are
once.
fine.
It's beautiful. Oh God.
Nope. Jump out of a window before I do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and he was the one guy, because man, I was in the hospital and they couldn't stop the pain. So he was the one guy I talked to. And then after that, I sat down with him and I said, listen, because we had a plan. When he was going to retire, I was going to take over. It was already set in stone. Succession plans, your organizations have to have them. And so I was already telling him, though, months before, I said, hey man, I don't think I'm going to be your successor. I just don't mentally have it. I'm not going to do 8 years. I'm not. I can retire in 3.5, take my 85% and thank everybody for surviving law enforcement. Yeah. Because that's key. Because getting out of law enforcement and is, you're never going to get out in one piece, but getting out of there is as best you can, because you see it. People retire, a year later they're dead.
Yep. I just had a friend of mine, 2 years.
It's brutal.
56, 20 years in the United States Army, 20 years law enforcement, and he's been retired like 2 years and he passed away.
It's brutal.
2 retirements, just.
And I was like, I'm not going to be that person. So when I started, when I when I started struggling mentally, I said, I'm not going to do it. So I was already telling him, listen, and he was like, you can't be saying that. You can't be saying it. People are going to believe you. I'm like, I'm telling you the truth. So I sat down with him. I sat down with him on April 15th. And I said, listen, Chief, this isn't, I don't know if I can do 3 days or 3 years. I honestly don't know. I need to be honest with you. You're in the peer support program. I've been telling you. And at this time I was seeking counseling. He'd sent me to a therapist that we were contracted with. And he sent me, and this will be ironic later on, but he sent me to his therapist that he was seeing. She's great. Ashley Harrell. She's great. Go see her. Okay, I will. And so I'd been doing that for months. And then we had the officer involved shooting in February, and it really tore me up watching my officers get hurt. And I was already struggling with watching a lot of our officers struggling mentally as well. Because we had multiple officer involved shootings in a 2-year period. I think we had 4. And some of them were iffy.
Okay.
To the point where we thought we were going to have officers go to prison. Really did. And so I was struggling because I cared about our folks. And then I was struggling mentally. So I sit down with him on April 15th and I say, listen, I don't know if I can do 3 days or 3 years. And he looked at me and said, then I don't need to use my deputy chief. And I looked at him just like I was like, he said, if you're not going to be a part of my succession plan, then I don't need you. Then why am I going to keep you as my deputy chief? And I literally,
so you're saying
good friends, brothers, family events together, everything.
So you're saying that because you were taking putting your mental health first, and you weren't committing to 8 more years to eventually take over. And how old are you?
I'm 52.
So he expects you to go to almost 60.
Correct. And
then take over for him. And if you're not prepared to do that, go fuck yourself.
Go fuck myself.
Okay.
Brother.
Friend, yeah, I got your
family
thin blue line.
100%.
I got your sex.
Oh, the family, right?
Yeah.
What a propaganda speech, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I'll tell you. That's why I wanted to preface with my network. All over the country, I had people all over the country. And so he says this to me. He said, then why do I need you as deputy chief? And I'm looking at him, this dumb look on my face, like, man, I didn't expect that. Because when he took over chief, his number one thing, mental wellness.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Tells his story about his struggles with mental wellness and everything like that. Sends me to his therapist. And I'm like, so I'm sitting in the chair, man. I'm like, so we have a conversation. And then I walk out, right? And so this was on a Monday, April 15th. And
what year?
This is 2024.
Okay, last year. Okay,
yep,
we're coming up on a year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'll get to do an anniversary speech at the council on the 17th. So I'm looking forward to that. And so, so the next day and a half, man, I'm confused.
I'm sure.
This man just told me he doesn't need me as a deputy chief.
And you're in limbo now. Yeah, you have no idea what his intentions and thoughts
he said,
are.
People don't like you. They don't trust you. They trust me, he says. They trust me. They don't trust you. I'm like, where in the heck is this coming from? Because every day I would have 5, 6, 7 officers. I wouldn't get home until 8 o'clock at night. My wife would be screaming at me, where you been? I'm like, listen, I was going to the parking lot and people would stop me. Seriously. And, but then now this guy's telling me people hate me. They don't trust me. They trust him, but not me. I'm like, what?
And that's the first time you heard that?
Ever.
Okay.
Yep.
After you told him you didn't know if you can make it another few years.
Correct,
okay.
Right. And so I sat on that for like 2 days. And so he catches me on April 17th in the hallway right outside my office. And he was like, so I walk in my office and he follows me and he's like, hey man, you kind of had your head in the dirt for the last couple of days. I said, yeah, chief, I've been thinking about what you said. It confuses the heck out of me, man. I said, people don't trust me. I said, you know who don't trust me and who should fear me? The people that are loyal to you. The people that are loyal to you. Because he protected them. They weren't doing their job. They were in training. We had
tale as old as time.
And I know you're all SWAT guys, and I'm not a SWAT hater. Love SWAT to death. But Palm Bay Police Department is ran by SWAT.
Yeah.
100%. Not about merit, about loyalty. And so, and he said that over time and time again. And so he put all of his SWAT buddies in training. We had lesson plans that were 8 years old that had a chief that had passed away, still names on the lesson plans. We were doing training with no lessons plans. And, and we're trying to get accredited and stuff. And I said, those are the people I'm holding accountable, people that aren't doing their job. And yeah, we had one lieutenant who was up in training calling new trainees window lickers. I hate fucking commanders. All they do is ever get in the way. And this is a lieutenant who wants to be, ironically, a commander. He didn't get it, but that's another story. That'll probably be episode 12 or something. And so I told him, I said, yeah, these are the people that I've been holding accountable. And I understand that pisses you off. And man, and I've seen it 100 times with this guy. Switch, berate. And he immediately comes to me, closes the door, gets right in my face. And he's like, this isn't about them. This is about you. You're not fucking right in the head. You can't do this job anymore. And I'm like, whoa, man, you're imposing your will here because you can't impose it at home. So then he makes it personal. And I tell him, I said, because I've seen it over and over and over, him sit there and just berate people in his office, berate them. And I said, Chief, you're not going to do this to me, man. You're not going to stand here and do this to me. You're not going to scream at me, and I'm not going to take it. You know how they do it. I'm the chief, right?
Yeah,
I'm the chief, and
do whatever the fuck I want.
I would never pull rank on you, but I'm the chief. I can do it. And I said, you're not fucking doing it to me, dude. Not in my fucking office. I'm a man. You're not going to sit here and fucking treat me like this. And we go at it, man. We go at it. People can hear it. People, they don't want to believe. They don't want to pretend like they hear it, but they hear it. And he's like, I think probably, I don't even know, 5-10 minutes. He's like, you need to go home. Go home. I said, dude, I don't need to go home. You came in my office to confront me. I'm fine. You just don't like it because I manned up to you, right? Your ego couldn't handle it. And he walks out. And I'm like, whatever, I'm not going home. And so he comes back. Well, I told you to go home. You better go home. Are you disobeying an order? I said, nope, I'll go home. So then he walks out again. I sit down on my computer. I'm like, I'm fucking done. And I start writing my 2-week resignation. You know, if that man had any brains, if he had more than his GED that he carries on his shoulder, he would have fucking let me write that fucking thing, but he didn't. He came back and he went one more time at me. And I said, I was writing my 2-week, you can do that fucking later. I said, okay. So as he's walking out, I made a statement because he despises our last chief. He ran him out through anonymous letters and secret meetings, right? And I said the same thing that we used to say about him. There's no one person bigger than the agency. And so as Mario's walking away, I said that in the hallway. Hey, Chief, there's no one person bigger than the agency, not even you. And it pissed him off, dude. So I find out, I go home. He has a secret meeting with all the commanders and some of his civilian loyalists. And they all go around the table and they do the old, what's the gladiator, thumbs up and thumbs down. And apparently I didn't win that. I
went to an IA like that. Where there was a big round table and I ended up on the, ended up thumbs down too.
So I lost. I lost. And you got to remember, there are people there that from day one I mentored, friends of mine. One guy that I badly mistreated. And he's the only one that said, listen, I'm out of here in 3 months. I don't have a game in this fight.
Isn't it crazy how that round table of your buddies turns into just complete bullshit?
Yeah.
At the time you need it most too, when shit needs to be really neutral and they need to pull their head out of their ass and stop showing but they don't. They're not capable of being impartial or unbiased. At that level of leadership, it's like a fucking cult. It's like a cult.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I went through the same thing. The round table. It's funny you say that because never in the history of my agency, and I don't know, there's probably never in the history of your agency, has there been a round table up and down, maybe back in the 50s or 60s when shit was wild, has there been a up and down, for a guy's life?
Right.
You know, you're dealing with you already you're having mental health issues
Correct.
that they know about, and then he comes out and it's unfucking real.
It's
unreal.
It's insane. But and that's why I said I was part of that culture and I wasn't proud of it, right? I started getting away from it because him and I started having private conversations about promotions and things like that I wasn't good with. We were tasing people off of motorcycle. I mean, we pulled up next to a dude on a motorcycle and a patrol car and did some wild, wild west shit and tased him right off the fucking motorcycle on a 3-lane highway. Broke that dude's clavicle.
While I was moving?
Yeah.
Oh,
right. For a red light violation.
Sometimes you don't tase somebody when they're running because it's dangerous, but
100%. But that'll be episode 14.
14.
Because so so they do this little roundtable thing, and the chief later tells me they told me I would lose credibility if I brought you back. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't about me. It was about nothing but him. All about him.
What do you mean by bring you back? Because he shit canned you in that meeting? Was a shit canning meeting?
He does later on, yes.
Okay.
But yeah. Well, yeah.
But your last day in the building is that day? Or did
the last
April
day
17th?
Is April. No, I get one more day.
Okay.
I get one more day.
One more day.
Right. And so and keep in mind now, him and our previous chief, they were screaming at each other all the time. And that chief never had the ego to throw him out of the building, right? Because that's what men do. I don't know, but that's what fucking men do. Especially when you're talking about alpha men.
Yeah.
Especially if one of them's having a bad day and has already told you, I'm pissed off at the world, dude. And then you attack me in my office.
And you know, how long have you known take me back. How long have you known this guy now?
Since 2004.
Okay.
So 20 years.
Yeah. Okay.
20 years, right? And so he basically throws me out of the building, right? And so as I'm leaving, and I text him, I said, hey, I want to meet with the city manager. You're not going to do it because I already knew what was coming. I already knew he was meeting with people. I had lots of friends in the police department. Nothing happened in there, right? And So I said, I'm going to meet the city manager. So I walk in on April 18th and I come to work. I'm not nothing. I'd go through my emails. To me, it was a blow up. Two guys got pissed off at each other, shouted it out, and move on with life. Things that happen all the time in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've moved on with life. I've done the emails. I'm getting ready to go to an award ceremony that morning. And I'm walking over to the award ceremony and I called his secretary and I said, hey, is it long sleeve or short? I want to be in the right uniform. Well, she immediately calls him because she was in the gladiator meeting. Oh, he's coming over to the award ceremony. And so he beelines and we meet and I could see him just trucking. He was like, I don't need you to this award ceremony. I was like, okay, man. He said, I'll see you at 10. Wait a minute, I have a meeting at 10 with the city manager, but okay. So I show up at that 10 o'clock meeting with the city manager to file my complaints. And he's sitting there. And I'm like, oh, boy, here we go. And so with him sitting there, I said, hey, listen, I'm not going to be treated like that. He knows I've been struggling with mental wellness. He's not going to sit there and berate me and do all the things that he's done to me, throw me out of the building like this. And I said, I want to file a formal complaint against him while the man's sitting there, eye to eye. And she's like, well, he's got some things to tell you. Well, he's like, well, I'm going to put you on admin leave. I'm getting you for insubordination. And I said, well, wait. I said, ma'am, city manager. I said, I'm here to file complaints. I'm the one who asked for this meeting. I never asked him to attend. Who's going to file my complaints? She literally looks at me and says, well, his IA sergeant will do the complaints. His loyalist will do the investigation. And if they find out that the chief did anything wrong, I'll look into it.
My wife has a saying. It's like the IRS investigating the IRS.
Correct.
Yeah, they're not going to find.
They're
not going to find anything wrong.
I laughed. I'm like,
yeah.
Are you kidding me? Seriously? She's like, yep. I said, okay. So then the chief's going on and on about administrative leave and all this stuff. And I said, that's fine, but I want the administrative leave form. I want the reason you're putting me on administrative leave. I want it in fucking writing. I want it fucking writing, man, because you're such a fucking wuss that you can't have a man-to-man screaming match with somebody that you initiated, and now you're gonna be that piece of shit. Well, fuck you, man. I want it in writing. Let's play this game, dude. And I told him to his eyes. I said, dude, I've been in meetings with you for the last for 10 years, dude. I know every illegal, unethical, and immoral thing you've fucking done, dude. You're not gonna. And I told him again in his face, I said, you're not gonna fucking do to me what you've done to all the other people. Because his purpose in life in year 2 of his chiefhood, he said, my purpose is to get rid of Commander A and Commander B. He forgot to mention Deputy Chief Fisher, but he said, that's my goal. I'm gonna get rid of them because I'm tired of them butting heads with them. He wanted a complete staff of loyalists, right? And I think Brent said it in your other podcast. Don't surround yourself by yes people. Surround your people who are going to challenge you.
They don't do that.
He did.
I watched my sheriff do the same thing.
And
it's ironic because my deputy chief got ran out, and it's almost identical to your story.
I heard. Yeah, you said 30 years, right?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about me.
No, 30. He did 31 years, and he got shit canned. Almost the same thing over an argument. Yeah. And the funny thing is, my sheriff used to run around before he lost his nuts, and he would run around telling people, because we did it, me and him, when we were in dope. He'd say every now and then you need to go out back and scream at each other. That's a productive, when the deputy chief carried him through his affair, when the sheriff had an affair and the building was a disaster and they were doing all his dirty work, it was great. Dude's AWOL, he's missing. But then as it continued to get worse and worse, and the deputy chief was accused of lying, which was not what happened. It was a long story, but I can tell you that the deputy chief wasn't lying. When he confronted the sheriff for calling him a liar, he basically got fired for slamming a door. They basically said, you slammed the door, it caused the 2 secretaries to be in fear, and because it happened in front of the sheriff, they fired him, or they were going to fire him. So 30 years, nothing. And so it's a very eerily similar, almost story.
It's crazy,
right?
Yeah,
and there was a third in charge there because there's an undersheriff and then the deputy chief. So, but yeah, this guy was like the guy, and same as you.
So, and I've sat in the chief's office when he berated 10, 20, 30 people over and no problems.
No.
But the time that one person says, you're not fucking doing that to me, ego,
yeah,
right? Ego. Can't have that.
SWAT guy, right? Was he a SWAT guy?
Oh, he still wears the pin. Still wears the fucking pin, man.
So does my guy, sheriff, but he was on the team like a month and then got kicked off, but he technically made it. But
yeah. And so I leave that. I stand up for that meeting, and he's like, Yep, I'm putting in admin leave. I said, hey man, can I just get some personal stuff? Give me a little bit of time. So take all the time you need. And I said, okay. So all I want is the letter that says why I'm being put on administrative leave, because I already know where I'm going. I'm not going to get fucking railroaded by this guy. If you can't handle a fucking man-to-man yelling match that you fucking started and you've done 1,000,000 times, go fuck yourself, dude. You're a piece of shit, man. Yeah. And I told him, I said, dude, I've been in every fucking meeting with you, dude. I'm not going to fucking take it like everybody else has. You're not going to treat me like you have. And he said, oh, thank you for the threat. I said,
it's always a threat when if somebody comes back up. They could do whatever they want, but you say anything to them, it's a threat now.
Yep. And I said, listen, man, it's not a threat, but I'm going to paint a pattern. I'm going to paint the picture, brother. That's what I'm going to do. And so I go back to my office and spend like an hour because I'm a geek. I have like 10,000 challenge coins, right? I mean, they literally produced a video on May 1st, right after I got thrown out of the building, of my coin collection. So I'm sitting there and I emailed him. I said, I'm leaving my badge, my gun, and my keys right on the table. I said, I'm just waiting on that piece of paper. And he replies back, come upstairs. So I go upstairs. This is April 18th. So I go upstairs and he's like, man, I'm not a religious guy. I'm just not. But I found out that people turn religious after affairs, right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Or when they become chief.
Yeah, they throw the God card at you all of a sudden. Yes. They haven't never used them before, but today is the day.
And I'll backtrack just real quick because you said, I was there when he went through his personal tragedies, when he couldn't come to work.
Yeah,
no big deal, right? When he was struggling,
somebody had his back.
I never said anything when he took a week off. Never said a word.
Yeah.
Just did my job.
It's funny how that works, right?
Yeah. Because loyalty, man. I was loyal to that man, and so
it's a sad thing. And when brutal. You find out the loyalty doesn't come back your way, when I say covered, I haven't even told my whole story yet, but I have, even as a lowly sergeant and then my lieutenant, we did the same. My dude, I don't know if I'm sure you heard about the affair that this guy had. Yeah. Yep. So I was his best man. I was his friend. And him and his ex-wife met at my house back in like 2009, 8, somewhere in there. So I knew everything.
Right.
And the things I did for this man and the struggles I took for this man. And I mentioned it on yesterday or the other day when I had my buddy on, I got the chick he cheated with husband came up to me in public and berated me in front of everybody in uniform in the middle of the sub shop, cussing me sideways. You're that piece of shit's friend. And I'm like, bro, dude, I didn't know. So yeah, you handle things. And I never, until this podcast, I never told anybody that story about dealing with that. I never even told him because I didn't want him to struggle at the time to go, hey dude, this dude's running around confronting people. You don't need to hear that. Like I was trying to filter it for him out of loyalty.
Right.
But the loyalty didn't come back my way. And then you're finding out that it goes one way.
I didn't come back my way. I got smashed in the face by disloyalty, right?
Yeah.
And so he calls me up in the office and he says, hey man, I've been praying for an hour on my knees in the bathroom.
On his knees.
Yep, that's what he says. And he says, and God told me Satan is in your head. And I said, holy shit, man, this went fucking south quick.
Yeah.
Well, fuck yeah, I got an excuse. We're good then, right?
You come back to work. You can come back to work. We have to have a fucking what is it called?
Exorcism.
Yeah, exorcism. We got to do an exorcism on you.
Well, the good thing is his best friend at the time was our wellness coordinator and our chaplains program. So his family got hit with fraud just shortly thereafter. Ironically, the same time he was resigning. And so I'm like, so Satan is in my head. Talks about evil and all kinds of stuff, and he's telling his side of how he saw this perspective, and I have a different perspective, right? He's got his version of screaming, I got my version of screaming. But you know what? We were both screaming, and he was like, "Man, I wish we'd have just fought." And I said, "Me too, dude. Me too."
Anyway, got you for like egg battery with a deadly weapon or something.
I don't know.
Attempted kidnapping or something.
He was fighting girls in some sort of martial arts, so he probably got me. But anyway, and so literally he's like, you know what? I'm going to talk to the city manager. Everything's going to be good. Don't worry about it, man. Because I had a conference. I had a conference in San Antonio, right? And he's like, just go to your conference. Take a couple of days off. Go to your conference when you get back.
And this is you're going on the agency's dime.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I already had it because I said, hey, you're gonna have to cancel my conference. He's like, oh, I forgot you're going to San Antonio for FBI leader conference, and I said, well, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, when you get back, everything will be good. And I said, okay. He said, so just take some days off. I said, I'll take days off, but it's not on my dime. I'm that guy that doesn't burn time. So if you want to take days off, I'm good with that. I'm not burning my time though. And all right, man. So he's good. We get up, he hugs. Everything's gonna be good. We actually hug, brothers. That's what we said. And I walk away. And wives are always smarter. She said, don't trust that motherfucker.
Mhm.
He's Sicilian. Bullshit. She said, bullshit, man. He's sending you away to fuck you. And you're not going to
So that way you're out of sight, out of mind.
100%.
You can do the other, you can do another
Yep.
up and downer.
Oh, even better. So, so I go to San Antonio. I take my week off and I go to San Antonio. And I start getting phone calls from staff members, phone calls from friends. And like, yeah, I'm telling you, dude, Chief's saying you're not coming back. I said, what do you mean? Oh, nope. He's been having meetings with people. And so I pull up his fucking calendar. He's met with the city attorney's office, the city attorney. He's met with Suzanne Sherman, who's the same person that said if there was any wrongdoings. That was my city manager. That was the city manager. And so I see that he's having meetings with all these people. And I said, woo, something's not right, brother. So I call him up. I call him up on a Wednesday. And I said, hey, Chief. And initially he was texting me, hey, I hope everything's good, right? Doing that mental wellness thing.
It's a God thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, his daughter's a firefighter. That's a great story I can talk about later. That'll be episode, I don't know, whenever we get to that.
We're booked.
Yeah, I got you.
We're booked up. We got a lot of them.
So, I make some comments. We had big fires in Palm Bay. We always have Mother Day fires and all that stuff. Somebody goes out there in our compound and just starts burning stuff up. So I say, oh, I bet your daughter's been really busy with the fires. And I just get yep. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So I said, hey, call me. So I said, hey, I've been hearing rumors, man. He's like, I said, I hear you're not bringing me back as deputy chief. He's like, yep. I said, I don't think you can do that. I said, I'm pretty sure there's a process in place. He said, yep, I'm gonna give you an offer. If you decline the offer, I'm gonna send you to HR for a predetermination hearing. And then if you don't like that, yeah, you can file a grievance. So basically he's telling me in my mind says you can resign, because he knew I wanted to get to at least November 1st, because that would have been another year for me. I would have gotten longevity pay. I would have gotten the new percentages on our contract. I would have gotten a higher stipend. And it would give me one more year of less penalties. And so my guess was he was going to give me just say, hey, if you
we'll pay out to them
or yep. And I said, whoa, I don't think you can do that. And he said, well, that's what's happening. And I said, well,
God told him.
Absolutely. He gets it from the mayor, because our mayor said the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's not going to fly, dude. And I'm going to tell you, and I already told you I was struggling mentally. And so now I'm in San Antonio by myself, no family, no nothing. This jackass asshole tells me over the phone that he's not bringing me back. And I'm like, I literally just sit there for like 2 hours, bawling like a bitch, man, fucking bawling like a bitch. And I can't even make plane reservations, because I'm like, what the fuck am I going to stay the rest of this conference for? And so I finally make plane reservations. The next morning I'm at the airport at 4 a.m. I try to get on 2 different planes going to, I don't even know where the fuck I was going to be heading to before I finally get to my right gate. And I get picked up at the airport. I go straight to HR. I file my workman's comp claim, and I go on fucking FMLA. I said, fuck you, man. I'm going to go get the treatment I deserve. I've already been doing treatment. I've been seeing a therapist. But the fuck if you're going to throw me out and put me out to fucking dry, fucked up too. You can put me out to dry.
Then you have to pay.
But at least
pay for it out of your own pocket at that point, right? Or have to pay that.
I wouldn't have insurance.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I said, at least I'm going to try to fix things, because I believe that was a lot of my problem. Never would I have ever went on a screaming match with this guy when he confronted me like that. He screamed at me 50 times over my career, probably 10 times in the year before that. So never would I have ever, but that day I was fucking fed up with it. And it was just bad timing. So I filed my FMLA paperwork. I'm going to do intensive outpatient with that group I was telling you about that we were contracted with.
Mm-hmm.
I use my time and I go on FMLA. That May the 2nd at the council meeting, it was National Police Week. So they were honoring the police officers. And so I went there as a civilian, plain clothes, sat in the back, still struggling, knowing that I was probably never coming back as a deputy chief. And I'm struggling. I'm actually crying in the fucking council chambers while these officers are up there getting their awards. And on the way out, an officer stops me. And she was a friend of ours too. I say ours, my family. And one of the things when I was out, I said, hey, please stop texting me. I'm okay. The chief's fucking me over. I don't want him to fuck anybody else over. It's just best for right now. And your husband's a fucking commander that did this to me. He fucking he thumbs down me.
Okay.
The guy that I've been backing for years, the guy that was a fucking lazy ass piece of shit on the road, and I brought him to my side of the city, and I told him how to become a dope cop, and got him into his special unit. And so he's one of the assholes that did this. And so I said, please stop fucking texting me, man. The fucking command staff are snakes. Your husband's a fucking snake. I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. And so I leave. A couple days later, I find out they've shut my computer off. They've shut my phone off. I don't know it, but I don't have access to the fucking building anymore. They've completely isolated me, which we never do for anybody that's out for mental wellness. We let them keep their patrol cars. We invite them back to the police department because we know once you separate somebody that's on losing your identity only
in the middle of all that.
Well, just when
doing it the right way.
That's why we had a chief retire and a couple of years later commit suicide because he lost his identity as a cop. And so we didn't do that to our officers. We invited them back. We checked on them. We had a policy. Our coordinator would talk to them weekly to make sure they were doing okay if they were out on mental wellness or anything like that. And so, but no, he shut all my shit down. And they don't even tell me. So I call him up. I'm like, what's going on? Why you guys shut my stuff? Well, you don't need your computer on your FMLA. I said, why not? You've never done this to anybody else. Why me? Why me? Why me? I can't. The man doesn't have the fucking balls to tell me that he shut my shit off, that he shut my phone off. And I still don't even know. I didn't realize I had access to didn't have access.
And here's this. For anybody, most people watching are going to be cops, but for anybody who doesn't understand, the stress and anxiety that goes into getting like a memo or an IA notification, the stress that you cannot explain to anybody else to know you're being looked at or that somebody's thinking about. So for you to already have expressed mental health issues, they know you have mental health issues, you're in counseling, and then to sneakily do those things, to me, is just like pouring gas on the fire. Because I know if my work phone didn't work for a minute, I'm like, fuck, I'm fired. We'll joke around, but it's like, or you get that email from IA, you're a subject of an event. Any little tweak in your daily as cops, we become so routine and so like everything's the same. And when something's out of place, we're the worst about, man, that guy didn't smile at me, right? Or that guy. So for you to be going through mental health issues, take FMLA, and then to do that, to me, even if you're a bad guy, you don't do that to your worst enemy. And somebody that served 20 years at a department doesn't deserve to be treated that way. So I can only imagine how that's just, it can't be, it's got to be spinning you up worse and worse. Because now you don't know your outcome at all.
No. We had an officer that was arrested for sleeping with a 13-year-old, and he got treated better than I did. We had 2 officers investigated for sexual assaults. They got treated better than I did. Quite honestly, not one of them ever had their shit shut off.
That sucks.
Where I can communicate with anybody. And so
that's how you do time roll. I'm sorry, how you do time card and stuff. Like, is that how you're doing?
Well, yeah,
department emails. All that stuff?
I couldn't do department emails. I couldn't do anything. And HR was handling my time cards, and then I didn't even know it. He took time out the week they told me to take off. The fuck stick took it out of my fucking time, man. And I'm like, you can't do that. And so I don't know if I can say that. I didn't have to need to, but
fuck stick. Yeah, you can say fuck stick, dude.
Okay,
it's America. This is fucking America, man.
I call him all kinds of shit.
You can say whatever you want, man. This is America.
So it's like, I think it's May 9th or May 8th or something. I'm like, we're fucking eating at a restaurant. I'm like, I get my time thing. I'm like, the fucker took 60 hours, 40 some hours. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And so I call HR. I'm like, no, it can't happen. So HR calls me back. Like, yeah, we talked to him. We're going to push your time back. It was jokes on them, or joke was on me anyway. It was admin time. I didn't get the fucking time anyway.
Okay.
So I couldn't get cashed out for it at the end. And so HR is like, yep, okay. Hour and fucking 15 minutes later, HR calls me. They want your car. It's not the retaliatory, she tells me. I said, how do you know that? I asked the chief.
Oh yeah.
I thought I'm looking for the fucking cameras. Are you
That's
fucking
weird.
shitting
So
me?
I guess that's just different. HR, because I'm a sheriff's office, so there's always a sworn person. So you got a civilian calling you now, telling you.
Oh yeah, because my chief doesn't have the fucking balls. He's still.
Well, honestly, you're right. He's the one. You're the only one above him. He's the only one above you.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be having a lower person in the totem pole.
Yeah.
Telling you, like, he should be telling you this is how it's going to be.
Have the balls, right? We've been working together for 20 fucking years, you fuck nut. And so HR now, they call me back. They want to pick up your vehicle. I said, she says, it's not retaliatory though. I said, that's some bullshit, man. No staff member has ever turned in their vehicle. She said, well, it's policy. If you're out for more than 2 weeks, you got to turn your vehicle. It's going to be parked at the station. I said, never been used. Never has ever been used for an unmarked vehicle. I'm telling you,
so funny.
I'm like, I'm the fucking deputy chief. I would know if I was pulling.
Because you're the one telling people to go get their cars.
I'm in charge of operations. I'm like, I would fucking know. And I'm like, And I start naming all his fucking loyalists that are always broke, broke dicks everywhere walking around every fucking, we call him Mr. or Dr. Summeroff. They'd go see Dr. Summeroff to get the fucking.
And what's funny is I went out. So right before I got demoted in 3 years ago, I went out on whatever, and they didn't take my car. I was out for like 4 months.
Right.
The second time though, when I was getting ready to get ran to when they tried to transfer me to the jail, ironically on day 10, the exact day that they needed to come, they came get everything, because I'm sure they had already discussed when this is all shook out, we're moving him.
Yeah.
So they knew ahead of time. So I'm like, well, the first time they didn't. They even took my radio, and then when I got transferred to the crime center, I'm like, well, I need my radio because I sit in the crime center. But it's just, they all operate the same. Like, you know, and that's where I went with, when something's not normal, because the first time I was keeping everything. It knew it wasn't a big. Second time they had already determined we're gonna fuck this guy.
Yep.
So this time I'm like, why are they coming to get my fucking car and my radio? Like, I went out 4 months last time, they didn't come get it. So they're all the same. But everything's the same.
It's funny. It's my wife, right? They're always right. She's like, we need to get your car detailed. Like 3 days before, they're gonna come for it. I said, no, they're not, man. They've never taken an unmarked car. She's like, I'm telling you right now, let's get it detailed.
Yeah.
And so we did. So it was nice and pretty when they got it back. And so they came and got my car, and I'm pissed because HR tells me you need to get with Jeff Spears. He's a fucking commander.
To below you.
Yes. So you're gonna get you're gonna get the guy that works for me, and he's also my replacement. 14 years. 14 years.
I'm not surprised.
No military, no prior.
No.
The kid has 14 years of police services, and he's the deputy chief now of an agency that's 300 strong, 140,000 people. You got a 14-year officer there. He has less experience than half of the agency, but that's who HR tells me if I have an issue with them picking my car, that's who I got to get with. I'm like, I got to get with my subordinate. Am I not still the fucking deputy chief? Was I demoted already and nobody told me? And so whatever, man. I'm like, whatever. Come and get my fucking car. 9 o'clock next morning. And so 2 commanders show up. Not even the guy that I'm supposed to get with. Not even fucking Spears. He doesn't have the balls to come to my house. Chief doesn't have the balls to come to my house. They send 2 other commanders. 2 of my good friends. One's the godfather of my kid. My kid's godfather. Fucker doesn't even get out of the car. Doesn't even fucking get out of the car.
Funny how things change.
Overnight. Doesn't even get out of the fucking car. So I give him my keys. I don't fucking care. They still haven't told me I've been locked out of the building yet. So I've got on my property because I was smart when I found out that there was that little gladiator thing. I was like, let me get my shit out of so I got 90% of the shit out of my office. I didn't get it all. And then, so I still had some of my coin racks and some stuff like that. So I was meeting with a guy from the state. He wanted to pick up one of the coin racks because I know I'm not going back. Right. And so I go to the police department to meet him. I can't get in the fucking building. So I called the fucking lieutenant. I said, hey man, I heard a rumor that if I'm on the property, you guys are supposed to call somebody. I said, well, I'm here. I need into the building. He's like, oh, I got to call the commander. It's like, you got to call a commander. I'm the deputy chief. You got to call you got to call the person who works for me. Are you fucking kidding me? And so he calls me back. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you want your property, you got to get with HR. I said, it's a fucking Saturday, guy. I said, have that fucking commander call me. Have him fucking call me. Have fucking Commander Ribnicki, that piece of shit. I can't even get on the fucking phone. The godfather of my fucking one of my children, to fucking man up and call me. Nothing. I tried to call him. Fucking nothing. Try to call Spears. Nothing. A bunch of fucking wusses. Can't even man up and answer a fucking phone, dude. Can't even. Are you fucking kidding me? We've been working together for 20 years. You can't pick up a phone now? Go fuck yourself.
It's wild.
So man. I'm embarrassed.
Wild.
I'm embarrassed to this guy who works for the state who drove 2 hours to pick up a fucking piece of property that I can't get. And so, well, I call HR on a Saturday and I get Laura Clausen. HR is awesome. They don't give 2 fucks either. I don't know if you know that. She's like, oh, nobody told me I was supposed to coordinate property. I'm like, yeah, because it hasn't fucking happened. I know how it is. She's like, well, I'll tell you what, I'll have your property delivered to your house. I'm like, oh, fuck, great. Now I'm going to have some fucking facility guys driving some fucking coin racks and a fucking refrigerator in my house. Okay, whatever. So she tells me when it's going to happen. And so I'm standing outside, 4 fucking cars, all SWAT. Motorcade in my house for 4 pieces of property, a refrigerator, a microwave, and 2 coin racks. 4 cars, 5 people. They get out of the car. My neighbors are standing over here to my right. They don't say a fucking word to me. Not a fucking word.
That's bizarre.
2 lieutenants.
Bizarre.
It's crazy. And one guy's a traffic guy, and he's got the body camera. And I said, Andrew, are you body camming this? Doesn't even say. He doesn't even acknowledge. I'm the fucking deputy chief, and he doesn't even fucking say a word to me. He points to the lieutenant. I said, dude, if you're body camming, get off my property. This isn't a call for service. Remember, I'm the deputy chief. I know the fucking policy guy. I wrote the body cam stuff.
Yeah.
I'm the one that brought body cameras here. You fucktard. Get off my property. If this isn't a call for service, I've asked you to turn the body camera off. My house is protected. My wife is standing outside.
And you didn't ask them to come. You tried to go get it.
Yes.
And they refused to give it to you.
Correct.
And set this up to come to bring it to you.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so they literally take 4 pieces of property, put it on the ground, and they all leave. Not one word said. The only word that was said is when I yelled at Andrew to either turn the body camera off or get off my property.
So you're talking a mini fridge,
fridge,
and a couple racks of coins. And they took
a mini fridge, a microwave, and 2 coin racks.
Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
4 cars, 5 people. So they pull off, and my neighbor comes over and like, man, is everything okay? That was kind of strange, right? And I was like, embarrassed as hell. Embarrassed one, officers I worked for so long. A lot of them that I mentored. And I'm like, didn't even say a word to me. This is May the 12th. I've only been away from the police department for 10 days. It's not like 4 months passed.
And you still have no idea where your career stands.
No, I'm on FMLA at this point. I have no idea. And again, nobody's called me up, said, we're going to bring property. The chief doesn't have the balls to call me up. My replacement, Spears, Mr. 14-year guy, doesn't have the fucking balls to call me up. The Godfather of my children doesn't have the balls to call me up. Greg Latula doesn't have the balls to call me up. Not one of them fucking called me up. This
is just so eerie.
It's insane.
It's eerie, though, because this is like, you would think this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but it's happening all over.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds identical to my situation, to the deputy chief situation that I had.
It's brutal.
It's like all these guys, I can't even explain it. Like, I don't know how to be that less of a man.
But Mike, we're a family.
Yeah,
we're family, man.
We
got that thin blue line, brother.
I don't.
It's everywhere. It's the propaganda, right? We got the flags. We hang them everywhere.
I don't know how these guys. Like, there's guys I was in dope with, years in dope, that just initiated or helped us initiate the backdoor IA against me, and they routed it around. And these guys were having affairs, and they got caught. And who they call? 100%. They call me, and they're like, "Hey, man, my wife called me cheating." And you're like, you're there for them through all these fucking things, and then it's like, you get the fucking thumbs down,
just like that, man.
But but it's funny because it seems to be the same guys that never did a fucking thing either, because they don't know loyalty. Because when you have a good well, you're supposed to, like doing the chief, but when you have a good partner, like my best friend Christian Matheson, 20 years, that dude's never crossed me and never would think about crossing me. But you find out that these guys are just acquaintances, and that's one of the things that I try to tell the new guys, like, they don't give a fuck about you. And you know that from your level. They don't give a fuck about you. And now you're the deputy chief.
I'm the deputy
Think about
chief.
Joe Blow that pisses off some councilman or pulls over the wrong dude.
Well, that shit doesn't happen to them. But the statement was made, though, because Mario, my chief, made a statement. I'll fucking throw out the deputy chief. Because he was already preaching at this time about loyalty. He was telling people, when people started crossing him, the union came into his office one day because they were pissed off that we were hiring experienced people at a higher rate than our starting salary. And when this sergeant walks out of our room, he says, send that motherfucker back the road. When his fucking wife died, when his fucking child died, I took care of him. I put him in fucking positions where he wouldn't have to work patrol. Send that motherfucker. I want the roadmap. He tells me and Greg Latup, the commander, I want the roadmap. 6 months, he better go back to the fucking road. If he can't be loyal to me, fuck him.
And by loyal,
and this is probably the first
by loyal,
time
you mean like sucking his dick, pretty much. Like, not loyal. Like, loyalty is like loyalty. But if you're not bound, he's a religious guy now. So if you're not bound down to God, because that's kind of that's what happened when the guys around in my agency started to tell people, like, you're fucked up, dude. Like, what you're doing, this whole problem you created for us, you're fucked up. And they don't want to hear that. So what they did was, like, they made the guys saying it the bad guys. So if you're not on that, and then they, like, I'm sure you heard me talk about it, they surround them, and they surround themselves with their buddies. And then just like, nothing's wrong. Everything's great today. It's another great day on the Truman Show. Because if everybody around you is saying it's great, I don't care if the fucking building's on fire. Because that building I worked in is now on fire it's out of control. But as long as everybody around them saying it's great,
I'm the fire.
Yeah, well, that's good.
I am now.
Yeah, and I'm glad, because I found out in Florida there's not much recourse. Attorneys are, like, scared to fuck with agencies and police and the sheriff's office, and other states the unions are strong. Florida union's a joke. There's no fucking union in Florida that's going to do anything. You go up north, you go. So there's I think this is really this is the spot. And this is it. This is what we got. This is where we ended up. We ended up in a nice my room here. And this is where we tell the truth and get the truth out, because people don't know this is going on, and they cover it.
It's brutal.
It is brutal.
Because you're right. So I dealt with this, and you'll probably have to shut me off about the 4-hour mark, but yeah, I dealt with it. I honestly dealt with it. And so they came into my car and they took the time, and I'm like, fuck this, man. So I called the city attorney. I said, you better stop. All I want to do is I want to get the treatment that I deserve. Stop fucking with me. I can't, because now I can't even deal with my past, because now I'm dealing with the present, and the present is my future. You're fucking me every day. You're taking my car. You're taking this every fucking day. It was something else. And I called her up and I said, you got to stop. You got to stop. You took my vehicle. You're not I'm the first person you've ever taken a vehicle. You need to stop. And then I go through a list of complaints. This is what this motherfucker's doing. He's attacking his fucking neighbor, a sober living facility, because he wants to buy the house for his kids. So he put all the special units on them. There was 199 calls for service that we initiated this fucking house. And I said, stop, man. And I laid it down. If you don't fucking stop, this is what I'm going to do. And you're right. He broke the loyalty. I didn't feel I had loyalty. And probably people say, oh, he fucking sold out, started telling the secrets. Fuck you, man. You've thrown me out of the fucking building, dude. You've destroyed my family. You've destroyed my career. You've destroyed me mentally. So people can say, oh, well, those were in confidence. Those were behind closed doors. Well, fuck that, dude.
And that's another struggle and I'm not talking about, it's nothing illegal. You're not covering drug deals and stuff. But when you say, I want to clear that, like we're seeing things that are bad decisions being made, or poor decisions, or like you said, that guy's going back to the fucking road. You can't say anything. You're living proof. You can't, but you build those up, and you hear so many of them. And then it's like, what do you do? And in the moment, the right answer is, you should have said something right then. It's just like any other victim of any other crime, like sexual abuse or batter or domestic violence. It's like, oh, you should have spoke up right away. Nobody understands, because really, law enforcement is like a big domestic violence. You're constantly beat up by the people that you think care about you,
or you're beating people up.
Yes, or you're beating people up, and it never stops. And it's always, well, why didn't you say anything, motherfucker? How am I going to say something? When I finally spoke up, look at what happens when you stop not covering up, but stop taking the fucking bullshit. When you finally go, that's it, man. You're fucked too many people. This is a problem. Down you go. Yeah. That's what happens. And that's why cops don't say anything. And that's why cops blow their fucking brains across the fucking room when they leave, because of all the trauma that's built up and all the bullshit. And then they realize none of the fucking people cared about them anyway. And you're just forgotten. And you're outcast. And now you're using the mental health program that they initiated to save people from blowing their fucking brains out, and they're just throwing fire on you the whole time you're in it.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And I even missed this. So I go to see my therapist, right? And I told you it was the chief's therapist, and I'm there for about a week. About a month, and she's like, "Hey, I'm not gonna be able to see anymore." I'm like, "Why not?" I'm being hired by the police department.
Conflict of interest.
I'm going to be the chief's mental. I'm like, I'm sorry. The therapist is going to go now work for the chief. You're going to take all my fucking secrets back to that building now. All the officers that you've sat down with are now going back. All the secrets are going back to that building. You're out of your. You're kidding. Joke, right? I'm looking for the fucking cameras. You're kidding me, right? He didn't even no hiring process.
They can do whatever they want. Man.
I know.
It's
went through HR,
wild.
appointed her, negotiated her salary. I have the text message saying that she needs to change her resume because it doesn't meet the job description that we fucking created for her.
All the time. They do that on the building too. People they create the job fucking and they forget to put something in there, and then nobody qualifies for the job. Right. They're like, shit, that didn't work out. They got to go back and fix it.
So I have the text message where the chief has told me.
I thought this shit only happened in the sheriff's office. I didn't know this shit happened in police departments too. I thought the sheriff, because he's elected, got away with this shit. I didn't realize that police departments were just as bad. Well, Vero police, I don't know if you've been following that story too.
No, I haven't.
They're getting sued by a lieutenant over there. Very similar.
Good.
They fucked with him and fucked
because
with him.
You know what? That's the only thing you're going to listen to.
Yep. Or this. I think this is, and you go into the council meetings and
3 minutes of time. Well, fucking 20 people fucking listen to it.
Yeah.
And then, it took me a year
to finally get the balls to go do it.
No. I did the day after. Okay. So you talk about a timeline, because people are like, well, you should have spoke up sooner. And that's why I said, I'm not proud, right? I was a part of the problem. Yep. I was the fucking deputy chief. I can't take that away. He was doing things that I was well aware of. But here's my response now. I filed a complaint May the 9th. I've put it on paper. I asked for whistleblowers protection because I already knew what this man. I've watched him for 3 years destroy lives. He threw our last chief out. He did it through behind closed door meetings and anonymous letters. The man didn't even have the fucking balls to look the dude in the face. He did anonymous letters. I stood in his fucking face to face with him. But so I sit there and I deal with this. And so I filed my first complaints May the 9th. And I wasn't proud of it, man. I'm a cop's cop, dude. I'm back. I started working in Rocky Mount in 1999,
it's so fucked up to think you're going to talk
1999,
about the agency.
right?
It's fucked.
100%.
Yeah.
Shit happened to me there. I don't fuck up. Shit happened to me all through my career, and you just eat it.
Just eat it.
And so I finally said, I'm not going to be bullied by this motherfucker. He's taken away this is it for me. I'm never going to work again. I never wanted to. This was my retirement, and he's fucking pulling this from me. For fucking a goddamn, I'm sorry, I apologize.
You can
that one.
No.
For a fucking argument.
Yeah.
You fucking wuss. You piece of shit. You fucking egotistical fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You take your fucking GED and shove up your fucking ass, man. Seriously, dude. Because you're so pissed off because somebody told you go fuck yourself. Oh my God. Seriously? You're a badass fucking army motherfucker, always talking about your fucking 3 years, and but that's what I'm thinking. So fuck you, man. You're not gonna do this shit to me. And so I start filing my complaints. I put them on paper. I put them there. But I said, my last line, deal with this shit in house. I don't want to deal with this in public. I'm not here to hurt the police department. Leave me alone so I can get the fucking mental health treatment that I want, that I need, because I watched my leadership style change, man.
Are you finding, obviously you're here and there's no lawsuit. Are you finding out kind of like I did? There's just like, there's no fucking recourse.
I finally did. I have a lawyer. There's one pending.
Okay.
EEOC turned around in 7 days.
What is your, I mean, if you can talk about it, what do you,
It's still ongoing.
But you sued him.
Yeah, I'm in the process now.
Okay.
Currently going on. Yeah, I filed my EEOC complaints. People say it'll be a year before I hear from them. 7 days. They contacted me back and said, yep.
Good.
Because you got to remember, so disabled vet, he knew that. And then I was already diagnosed by the very people that were already serving a lot of our officers and his therapist. I was already diagnosed as well with PTSD, and he used those against me.
Which is exactly what it's not supposed to do.
And this is why people don't fucking say shit. Why do you think people fucking blow their heads off and don't say shit or sitting behind that closed door pissed off all day? But when you have a chief, this is our priority. This is my number one priority. Tells his stories. Well, you know what? Nobody fucked him when he was struggling. His chief didn't fuck him when he couldn't come to work. It was brutal.
It's crazy, man. How they forget.
Brutal.
Man. Yeah.
And you know what? And then I was like, why didn't I just stay? Why didn't I just fucking suffer in silence like everybody else does? Right? We had a chief that had committed suicide. An ex-chief just a year before. I saw that dude laying on a sidewalk. Brutal. And and he looked like a completely different person than when I remembered him. Yeah.
This job beats the shit out of you, man.
And so I wasn't proud that I filed these complaints. But I'll be honest, I wasn't in the right state of mind. I was fucking pissed. When they took my car away, I'm like, fuck this guy, man. And you can't even reach out to me. You've not one time told me anything, right? And so I'm like, fuck it, man. And so I sat there from May, and I was going through my treatment, trying to do my thing. I wasn't going to counsel. I was being quiet, doing all the right things. But I did send out the thing. And so August 17th. So my FMLA ends around that time. And so I start the MLA, which is basically at the grace of the city. They can give you month by month extensions. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm on. One guy got 18 months. One guy got a year. We have somebody out right now that's been out for 2 years. I was in month 1. City attorney asked me to sit down with them and write a formal statement. Sit down with them for 2 hours so they can do the investigation against my complaints against the chief. That was on August the 15th. August 15th. So I'm still an employee. So I'm not one of these guys that wait till they're done before I come out and say shit. I don't let them retire me and then have the balls. I think you guys talked about that. I think it was you and Brent. Yeah. How people will retire, get all the goodies, and then now they want to be the big badass.
Yeah. No, it was Tyler. Yeah, about the whistleblower after the fact.
Oh yeah. Tyler,
you're blowing. So you're blowing the whistle while you're still there.
Yeah, I keep saying Brent. Yeah. Please don't kill me, Brent. So they invite me in, sit down with them for 2 hours and do the statement. August the 17th or 15th, somewhere around there. I get a letter, or I go to put in my next extension from a medical leave of absence. I say, because I already got a feeling that they were going to cut me. I said, if you're going to cut me, just do me a favor. Let me know ahead of time. I have adult children on my insurance. I have my family's on my insurance. I have no insurance. So on like 7 days later, after they've invited me to sit down with them, at the same time, I go to a council meeting just to sit there, don't say anything. And the chief pulls me out. I'm talking to one of our citizens. He says, can I talk to you? I'm like, sure. He pulls me around the corner and he does the old, I've been praying for you. How's things going?
Here we go.
And I said, Chief, don't pray for me, dude. Don't fucking do it. You did this to me. Don't blame this on anybody else. You did this. You're the one who kicked me out of the building. You're the one that shut off my stuff. Right? Flip of a dime again, just like I've seen 100 times. You got to stop trying to blame everybody else. This, you're trying to blame the wrong people. This isn't even me. This is the city manager. He blames the city manager. And he goes storming off, throwing his little childish tantrum. And I said, hey, good talk, Chief. And so the two officers at the door, because we have security, they're like, what the hell is that all about? I said, and I told him, I said, Chief, I told him face to face, I'm suing you. I've already filed EEOC and I'm filing discrimination lawsuits. I'm going to file a whistleblower lawsuit against you. I said, and this is why I'm still working. I said, so you can talk to God all you want, but this is what I'm doing. Because I'm a man. I'm going to look in you in the eye and I'm going to tell you how it is. And that's when he flipped on me. And I said, I don't know what to tell you, brother. And so the officer's like, hey, what was that? I said, I don't know. I guess he didn't like the fact I told him I'm suing the hell out of him. And so it was, so then 2 days later that I talked to the city attorney's office, 7 days later on a Friday at 3:00, I get an email saying I'm being separated 2 days later on a Sunday.
So,
right?
Yeah.
On a Friday. And now this is around August the 23rd. And I'm like, you couldn't even give me until September 1st where I could have another month of insurance. I've already sent you a letter saying, please do me a favor, man, for my family. And so I get that. So I type up an email and I'm like, listen, Suzanne Sherman, city manager, God of all gods, please, 21 years of service, dedicated. I've never been written up for anything. Even with all this stuff, one time I did get written up. Just give me till September 1st. It's a holiday. Just give me till September 1st so my family can have 1 month of insurance. Gives me a month to figure something out. So I get an email back and she says, yep, it's a hardship for us to extend you further because of your rank. Because I'm a deputy chief. The guy that they gave 18 months to, another one they gave 12 months to, the one that's currently out for 2 years now, I can't get that service because I'm a deputy chief. So they're going to cut me off 1 month in. 7 days after I filed my formal complaint at their request, and less than a week after the chief confronted me. It's not retaliatory though.
No.
So she says a hardship. So she would give me till September 1st, but that's the best she could do. So perfect, man. September 2nd, I'm done. That's it. My career is over. Just like that. 2 day notice on a Friday, 3:00. I'm told that I'll be done by Sunday. I was able to get a couple more days out of it just to get me there. That's it, man. That fast. I didn't get the chance to, do the little countdown calendar. I didn't get to do any of that stuff. It was just like that.
Any cake?
No.
No cake.
No, I never.
No retirement party. No cake.
I didn't get
no
a
gun.
I didn't get a
no watch.
I did get the gun.
Okay.
Because here's the other thing. I had to sell my house. 19 years I lived in my house. I had to sell it. I have no income. I'm living off the proceeds of my house. I'm renting now. And so when I say they took everything from me, except my family, but they took so my kids still don't have insurance. My kids don't have insurance. I sold my house of 19 years to live off of. And that's what I'm living off of. They haven't given me a fucking dime. People are like, oh, but you got a severance package. I did not. I got cashed out of whatever
your vacation and sick
whatever
time,
sick
whatever else gets.
But I had to burn. I wasn't out.
FMLA is cost.
I wasn't out 1 minute.
Costing you, right?
Where I was in treatment with guys from the same shooting that I went out with. They hadn't burned a minute of their time. Yet I was never afforded 1 minute of my time. So
you cash out, they give you a vacation and sick, cash out. What about your retirement?
I'm not eligible for retirement until I'm 55, unless I take huge penalties.
Same as FRS.
Huge penalties.
Yeah, same with FRS. It's you lose 5% a year for every year under 55. Because I'm only 40. I'll be 49 in May.
3%. And when he purposely separated me in September before October, because I told you all the benefits I'd get in October.
Mhm.
I would have gotten a 3 or 5% increase in my salary, which would have benefited my pension. I would have gotten a longevity check of $3,000. I would have gotten more. So that percentages that I would have gotten that contract would have went towards my sick and vacation. I would have gotten another year. So it would have been another 3% of non-penalties, because I would have been a year older, because my birthday is in October. That's why I want to do November 1st. And so there was huge benefits.
All
And
this
so,
because you disagree with a dude, essentially.
well, I say because he's a wuss and can't handle a fucking argument between men.
But it all everything was good
Yes.
until that argument.
Yeah. It was literally that argument that he started, he created. And I told him I wasn't gonna tolerate it. If I would have sat back and been like, you know what, Chief, my bad. Sorry, I raised my voice. You're the greatest of all greats. You're the best thing that's ever happened. I'd have been fine, because that's what he does. And I watched him do it a month before, where a sergeant, a loyal SWAT sergeant to him, was upset because the chief's daughter was under investigation for inappropriate relationships on duty at the fire department. Well, the chief intervened in that. He pulled his little chief rank out, and he made sure that investigation went away. And so we have SWAT medics on our team. So we have firefighters that are on our team.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a little upset. One, they were upset because they hired the chief's daughter and she didn't pass the physical assessment test. The only person that was hired that couldn't pass the FD's physical assessment test. And so some of them are saying it's because her last name is Agello. And so he was pissed. And because that's how he does, he's retaliatory. He was like, you know what? Kick him off the team. Or better yet, we'll just dissolve the program. We'll dissolve the SWAT medic program. If that's how they're going to fucking treat me, this is what I'm going to do. Because that's what he does. He intimidates, he threatens until they get back in line. And so he went screaming, because this sergeant was like, wait a minute, this isn't right, Chief. You're calling firefighters assholes to their wife's face. You're threatening to kick them off the team. They're not even involved in the investigation. But he was on duty going to the fire departments, confronting these guys. He went out to SWAT training, confronting them, because he's a bully. And so he berates the sergeant. But the sergeant falls in line. So I start talking to counsel on September the 5th, the first time that I go there. And I just tell my story. I said, this isn't right. This is my story. I don't throw in all the allegations.
You only get 3 minutes, right?
At that time, I got 6.
Okay.
They've systematically, because of they've cut off all comments on their social media. You can't even comment on their social media.
That happened to me too.
and now you only get 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Because what they were doing is, I would do my 3 minutes. They would rebut it. They would say, oh, he was under all this discipline. They would sit there and lie. And they would, so I would come back in the last 3 minutes and rebut the rebuttal. But now I have to wait for a whole nother fucking 2 weeks before I can do it. And so I'm at the podium on my second 3 minutes, and the same sergeant, the chief of jail, had screamed at, actually, I'll say his name, Shane Mertens. He's a piece of shit. And I'll tell you why in 1 second. He's a badass SWAT sergeant, right? He sends me a text message while I'm at the podium. It says, fuck you. Because I say to the council people, I said, you're acting like I'm your liability. I'm not. Your chief of police is your liability. Bling. Fuck you. The next day, he's on social media bashing my wife. This badass fucking SWAT sergeant on social media bashing my wife.
What was he saying? Just
stuff like, oh, you're better than that. He was the worst supervisor ever. Really, dude? When we went to Tampa and you got arrested at the fucking Bucks game, I'm the motherfucker that helped get you out of that bitch. I wasn't the worst supervisor then. I wasn't the worst supervisor 6 months ago.
Funny how that works.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
But he's on there talking about, oh, is your husband still looking for apartments and doing all this? Because I told you, when you have those when you're struggling, dude, it affects every aspect of your life.
Fucking cops, man.
Piece of shit, right? On fucking social media.
Yeah.
And this wasn't his first time. He's had unprofessional. He's a lieutenant now.
Of course.
The other sergeant that did the same thing to another lieutenant got IA'd and got wiped off the lieutenant list, disqualified. This guy promoted him just literally 3 weeks ago. Chief or mayor, everybody's congratulated this guy, even though I posted his social media stuff and said, how is this piece of shit able to fucking pick on women? Because he's a badass fucking SWAT dude, piece of fucking shit. He's badass to a woman. And you know what's funny is when my wife was in the police lobby one day because doing our public record stuff, he's in the lobby and the first thing he does is runs his mouth and runs behind a fucking closed door before my wife could even fucking interact with him.
Yeah, it's usually how it goes.
But that's shame.
I don't know, and again, I don't know any of these guys, so
yeah.
My job is my podcast here is to give you a platform. So I don't know who. I know a few guys on the team. I don't really know anybody by name. I've been in the building once for some warrant, but it sounds eerily similar to just kind of what goes on. You're in, you're out, you're out. and it can change like that.
And there's a lot of great guys on the team, and they've done a lot of good stuff. I mean, they did a hostage rescue where a guy shoots a girl and she's bleeding out, and and they do some tremendous work. They're badass. That's what they're trained for.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not trained to pick on women.
You know what I mean? One of the interesting things you said in there, because I think it applies a little bit to what happened to me, is if you would have just sold out, if you would have just
100%.
kissed ass, because my sheriff ended up, he's got like a bodyguard now. He promoted a guy from sergeant to captain. Straight
That
up.
never works out, by the way. I've seen it twice.
It'll work out. He's basically a driver and a shadow. And I laugh because I think if I would have kissed ass a couple years ago and just told him everything was great, and being as close as I was to him, I probably could have accelerated to maybe some bodyguard position.
Right.
But I couldn't, even knowing that guy that long, I couldn't continue to watch promotions and moves that I have all the messages. I have a ton of them. He would promote somebody and tell me that person can never be outside of the administration side. They can never work patrol. Now they are in patrol. But to just see it kind of unravel, and like I said, me and Christian Matheson kind of stayed the line of like, we're not going to sell out. And on election day was August 20th. He was reelected. We supported Miles Thornton, and the following Monday we were both transferred. He's a watch commander. He goes to the courthouse as a lieutenant, and I'm a detective, and they tried to transfer me inside the jail as a corrections deputy, and I'm not even certified. So that was, not as bad, not as bad as what happened to you, but that is in the league of like unheard of for a lieutenant, the best watch commander in the agency, to go to the courthouse as a courthouse, and one of the top arresting former supervisor in the Rogue Time Crime Center. Nobody's ever been transferred into the jail. And I remember, you're fresher than me because mine was a slow burn for 3 years. And you're like a year, I had 1 more year than you. But this is it. This is what we got. You got a lawsuit. I hope that really works out. It's not, I know it's not about it's not though. I think you'd rather be homeless and make these guys pay, because it's the principle of accountability and not letting this happen to anybody else.
That's exactly what it is.
And I always say that, like, I don't care. It's not lawsuit. I don't want money. I'm good. I don't need money. It's the public needs to know what goes on behind these doors, and the power and the abuse of power that people inflict on the troops. It's just unfortunate.
I'm glad you mentioned power, right? Because I told you I had a huge network. Prior police chiefs I worked with, and I would, when I go to these conferences, the chief would pull me around. This is the future of the Palm Bay, future of Palm Bay. When I was out, right, and I filed those complaints, I had the Central Florida Marshal call me up. He's a previous chief for Palm Bay. Calls me up. You need to stop. You need to stop. If you value your career at all, just don't say anything.
He told you that?
Yeah, on the phone. I've never heard from him since. We talked all the time. Never heard from him since. Another chief who is big in the FBI National Academy. He was the past president, huge leader in the police world. Called me up, says pretty much the same thing. I said, Doug, I'm not doing it. Never heard from him again.
Good.
Never.
Well, good. Right?
It's
Fuck
nuts.
Fuck
nuts.
It is. And I wrote when they were trying to put me in the jail, I authored a memo, basically almost, again, very similar to yours, that it was going to cause me severe mental health issue. I put a lot of people in jail and prison.
Yeah.
And they got wind of it. And I got a call on the Monday morning. I was going to submit it. And I heard you're going to submit a memo. And I said, bashing the agency. I said, no, it's not bashing the agency. It's talking about my mental health. I said, give me a minute. I'm going to call the sheriff. They called me back and they said, it's in your best interest to not submit that memo.
Yeah.
And I said, so fuck myself. Fuck that mental health. Fuck all. It's my best interest not to express the mental health issues you're causing me by doing this to me. Not only that, but the money. Because by moving me into the jail, it eliminated all my ability to work extra duty details. It eliminated overtime. I have to go to an academy. Like unheard of. You ever heard? I mean, you guys don't have a jail, but it just I'd be interested to see.
Now it's usually the other way around. People get moved out
Yeah.
of jail.
Yeah. So, well, we're about hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to give you about
my
5,
bad.
10 more minutes to. I don't want to, because I think at some point everybody's gonna be like, and we can come back. But I want you to continue. Just any other topics or any other things you'd like to get out to anybody. I'll give you more than your 3 minutes at the council meeting, but I think you've gotten a lot of good stuff out. But I don't want to cut you completely off. But I want you to. I want to hear. People are going to see this. I'm sure you're going to tell people this is coming out, and I want you to let them have it. The floor is yours.
I would feel more comfortable if you yell at me, because that's what the mayor usually does. He'll get up there and say, I'm tired of you bashing the police department. So
No.
I'm bashing leadership. But, it's really, it goes back to what I kind of said in the beginning. When you get into this job, and they really should tell, right? They should tell our folks, these young kids, you're never going to be the same. I don't care if you work a day or 30 years. You're going to see something that first day that's going to change you forever. And if you believe the propaganda about the thin blue line, which I did,
we all did.
I had them all over my.
I never had the line, but I believe that there was a brother. Yeah. I believe there was a brother.
And I said family all the time, right? Because we preach it, family. You know what that is basically I guess it'd be an Italian thing. Your family, so you can't speak out of it, but right. And so I think that there's this ideology that law enforcement is a clique. But you know what? Somebody sent me something the other day. The day you're gone, that's when family ends. Well, whether you're tossed out
before that, but
either if right, exactly. Either if you're tossed out or you retire, you look back and you're standing by yourself. You're standing with all the nightmares. You're standing there dealing with all those things by yourself.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had to sell my house. I still don't have an income from the police department. I still don't. They've never given me a penny. Yeah, I have my lawsuit going on, but
that takes time.
Yeah, but trying to even get an attorney to even pick those things up,
and
is a nightmare.
Money doesn't fix the damage.
No, and I've
it
said
doesn't
this,
fix the damage.
All I want is that leadership gone, because I don't want those officers. They're afraid. They still talk to me. I have a command staff member. I have lieutenants, and I have officers that talk to me all the time, because they're afraid, because he made a statement about loyalty when he threw me out. I will destroy anybody. I destroyed my number 2 guy. And I mean, that's serious.
It just mirrors
serious,
and it just mirrors my agency. And when I started this and started, and I was told, so when my Instagram page started first and all this stuff, and command staff guys are, hey, I saw you liked Copville's post. I saw you like this. I saw you like that. So they're paying attention. And as I got this platform, I'm sure it's going to get more attention paid, but it's almost, this is the outlet. Social media, just like through the presidential election, like Elon Musk going on with Joe Rogan and Trump going on with Joe Rogan to get that message out. Like, the media wasn't going to put it out for them. They weren't going to get any media time. I mean, they left the people in fucking space for an extra 8 months because they didn't want Elon Musk to get credit for rescuing them.
100%.
So if it goes at that level of like the highest government officials and it's happening in every small town police department, every little sheriff's office, every small agency is experiencing the things you've experienced. And I hope people watch this and understand, and I hope this helps get your message out that what you've gone through is just, it's not fair. I mean, you don't have so you're saying, Lester, you don't even have the resources for your mental health to continue.
Fortunately, I am going.
I
did go through workman's comp.
Okay, so you're still dealing with. You got the continuation of that.
Yep.
Oh, good.
So
okay.
I did. That's the one thing I got. I got my workman's comp.
Good,
so I do get my therapy. And and one last thing, and then I'll be good. But people say, "Why didn't you come out sooner?" You know what I tell them?
It's impossible.
I would have been unemployed. I would have sold my house sooner. It was 7 days after, at their request, I provided them a statement requesting whistleblower that I was gone. 7 days at their request, I was gone. And they knew I was coming back. I had a return to work date of November the 1st. They knew I was coming back to work. I told you it was a hardship to keep me on the books. 2 weeks after they fired me, I'm going to say fired now. My replacement, my 14-year officer friend that I, from day one, grew up, they sent him to the FBI National Academy for 3 months. He came back in December.
Yeah, so they had enough money for that.
Well, but he was the deputy chief. They
Yeah,
promoted him deputy chief.
yeah.
So they still didn't have a deputy chief. Even
While he was gone.
correct. I would have been back November 1st. They knew I was coming back. So, and then they try to say, medical separation, all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's the second, again, it's the second you stepped out of line and they saw, and that's what happened with our agency. The second it's like what is it? When the cow breaks out of when the cow learns it can get out of the fence, they kill it.
Yeah.
I've seen a lady do it one time. Craziest shit I've ever seen.
I never heard that, I believe it.
This old lady pulled up one time. This cow realized he could get out of the fence. So he did it. And like the third night, I'll never forget it. Boom, around the side of the road, she gets a 12-gauge shotgun and blows this cow. It's her cow. She blows this cow's brains sideways. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? She's like, he can't.
The cows.
Yep. That and that cow learned it can get out. And I think you learned that it was fucked up. It was time to hold him accountable. And you were done taking the bullshit. And the second you did that, you were now the enemy of the state. You're the enemy of the building. And now you're here. So,
and after an hour and 20 minutes, I found I'm no better than a cow. Thanks.
No.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that shit.
No. That's equivalent to the cow. But I'm going to tell you a funny thing before that you made FIFA. I have 3 years in the Army and I have a GED. And you knocked that. You said that 3. I do. I know. It's funny. I was going to wait to go off until you said that. I was going to tell you after we got off. But ironically, I have 3 years in the United States Army. And I don't have a degree. I only have a GED.
But you're better than the cow. Well, and actually, no, you're the cow too.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, Lance Fisher, the former deputy chief of Palm Bay Police Department, decided to speak out against his agency and hold them accountable. And instead of being at the agency continuing to work, he's sitting here at Locked Up with Copville telling his story about how he got fucked sideways. So this is what happens. This is the stories we're trying to tell. This is what we're trying to do for accountability. Lance, I appreciate it once again for coming on.
I appreciate you, sir.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks, brother.
I'm the only white face in this area. You don't belong here. Stop, I'll shoot you in the back.